So the question that I had, Dean, uh, related to you coaching that team and the studies that you're doing and your wealth of knowledge inside that brain in terms of application to it, how does that help or hinder you working with young players and volunteer coaches?
Well, I think it's been helpful, Wally, because it's you know, I I really wish I would have gone and done my PhD much earlier, because I've learned so much through this process. And um, you know, I just feel I've grown so much in the last few years that I've started down this path. And a lot of it is, like you say, it's self-awareness, and it's, keeping a growth mindset, being open, um, seeking answers from other people, other sources, and not just looking for like those kinds of people or readings that confirm what you already think or but you challenge yourself and you challenge your beliefs, and then you test them. And so I like to think of myself as more of a pracademic. So I've got one foot in the academic world, but I like to test this stuff out myself and just see, how applicable is it or not. And then I continue to try to, carve off little pieces that I can use. And it's no different with this U15 team. I think it's given me a much broader perspective to deal with other people, the coaches, the players, because I'm dealing with them on a pretty much a daily basis. So I think it's been a great help, rather than, snap to a quick judgment and just make up your mind on somebody after your first or second meeting, or after a week, you start to, put people into stereotypes or roles, and you don't really think about it anymore, and you just continue on. And so I think you just having that ongoing discussion with yourself, and realizing that what we see with each other is just the tip of the iceberg. We don't know what each person's going through, financially, mentally, all that sort of thing. And I think it really hit home here lately, and I think I've mentioned it to you, and Tim knows as well, Bothwell, that, we lost one of our Dino alumni here late in October. And, I think that something like that really does help bring it into focus, that, you have a connection to somebody, but, boy, when something like this happens, it really is a bit of a wake-up call. And, the metaphor would be, we're all icebergs and we only see what's above the water, but 90% below the water, we just don't know what kind of a day that other person had, what kind of pressures they're under. We just see the external face, and we don't know what's underneath. So it really helps us to keep that perspective, and maybe not to just take things at face value, but really continue to build and maintain connections with your players and your coaching staff. I think that's very important.
Dean, what have you learned coaching this Bantam team this year?
Well, this has been a real challenge this year, because I think I've learned to try to manage expectations a little bit. We were seeded as a tier 2 team, and we didn't win a game until our last game in the seeding round. And I think we played 8 games plus an exhibition, and then we had another exhibition game after that. And we were clearly outclassed based on the lack of space and time, and just, it wasn't for a lack of work ethic or of wanting to do well. And like you've said, Wally, everybody's got good intentions, the parents, the coaches, the players. But I mean, we were trying to punch above our weight every game, every period, every shift, and we just weren't capable. And we got moved to the tier 3, and all of a sudden now we've got that space and time, and we can get our head up, because for me that's the big thing, is you've got to be able to read and you've got to be able to scan in order to read and then to make a decision. So now that we have that little extra bit of space and time, our players are much better able to make decisions. Before, we were playing head down hot potato hockey, try to get to the puck, and if you do, just slap at it, and then, all right, my job is done. It's not in my immediate vicinity, so I'm done, and I'm just going to relax now. So I would say that the biggest thing this year and the biggest challenge has been to manage expectations and to try to reframe reality a little bit for everyone, and help them understand that this is a good thing for us. Every challenge is an opportunity, and we need to pursue it. And I think of a book. I don't know if any of you have read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, on his time that he spent as an inmate in the I think he was in Auschwitz, one of the camps in World War II, and he was a psychotherapist. And he said something along the lines of, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And within that space is our power to choose our response. And in that response, that lies our growth and our freedom. So I think that any coach, it could apply to any profession, but, any coach, and certainly here in my example right now of U15, I kind of draw back on that quote a little bit to try to help understand things and to put things into perspective.
No, the question I asked was really related to self-awareness. What do you perceive and seeing? And I could ask the same question. Tom, I don't know if you're multitasking here, but what have you learned from coaching your team so far this year?
One thing is, I went to the bowling party the other day and I realized how little they are. I wonder why they can't shoot. Their arms are like tiny, like some of them, but it takes a long time. No, just I think I really see the benefit of games, and I've gone back to coaching more using games like I always used to coach than when I was coaching college. There we did a lot of flow drills and all this, and the other coaches liked. And to see the difference between how we pass the puck, because we play a lot of games, like probably the first one to do is there has to be at least one pass in each zone. And we did or you get 3 seconds with the puck, things like this. But it just makes such a difference that it's incredible that, but the kids really like it because you get to play games, right? And the parents, I think at the start, were kind of watching because that other team's practicing at the other end with the Hockey Canada circuits, and it looks so nice and efficient, and everybody's doing this, and there's 5 coaches doing that, and they're going around pylons. But and they had more talent than us, and every time we play them, we beat them, and we're doing a lot better than them because we pass the puck. So, it kind of confirms what I've always thought. And the parents right now, they've really come along. And Wally, you did that the
exercise, yeah.
Yeah, the exercise with them, and that really helped because at the start,
yeah,
I think they're all kind of wondering about us as coaches.
I got to mention this for everybody. Dean, the beginning of the year, Tom carded me as an assistant coach, but I've worked with Tom as a mentor for years, brought him in to coach teams where I was a paid mentor for Girls Hockey Calgary, and really just so he could right the ship of what was going on. but Tom was practicing at a particular arena, and I could see watching them play in a tournament, there was a disconnect between him and the parents. There just wasn't that look me in the eye, smile kind of relationship. And I mentioned it to Tom, and I asked him, and I don't know how we came to it, but I said, Tom, when you're running practice, let me run the mission statement exercise with them.
Mhm.
They're all at practice. There's a boardroom here. It's just the parents. And what I learned from that, Tom, that has to happen. That's another stage
Yeah.
in the process. At that age, all the parents are at practice. Even
And
at
they
old
resent
age,
it too because they'd all coach their kids, and now they brought in this outsider too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and so when I did that, well, you described it. You enjoy coming to the rink and they greet you, they recognize you and acknowledge you. I have some parents who the coaches don't even look them in the eye and say hello. So that lack of respect and this congeniality between people to enjoy the experience is lacking. And I believe, Tom, that had we not done that exercise, you would have been very unhappy, sort of with that disconnect, because it is working. And that's what I would say. If you're going to do the exercise, do just the parents, because the perspective piece, they really have perspective, but they forget about it. And I think good coaches have perspective. They begin the right way, but they end up going off the rudder of the direction because the pressure to win and the results takes over the ethics of coaching. And I was going to ask, everybody's